Hi everyone, it's Leilani. Welcome back to my channel. So today, friends, it is time to finally add all of my books into my reading journal for the month of May. So I have not been the best reader this year. I got so crazy behind in April and May, picked it back up there in June, and I've been getting back into my groove of reading, but I really struggled throughout these months. So a few of these, I will admit, I've fibbed on a little bit. I might have kind of finished them more in June than in May, but we're just rolling with it. I have found that for this particular reading journal, I like to have 7 books to document. That was a number that I came up with in January, and it just fits so perfectly on my spread. I know that's the super scrapbooker in me where I'm dictating my books based on my scrapbook layouts, but honestly, it's just worked out really nicely, and 7 books is a great amount for me to get completed throughout the month. Typically, when I have a regular month and I'm actually trying to read books. So anyways, with that said, I should be back on track a little bit better, and we'll definitely be getting these reading journal pages to you guys throughout the rest of the year. So as I've been talking, I did go ahead and pop my books on my my bookish year page, which are just the really small book covers. So I've been printing all of my book covers off at a 0.6 by 0.9 size, just kind of a random size that I came up with, but it's worked out really nicely. It looks like I'm about halfway through, so hopefully I will be able to fit everything on that 2-page spread there at the beginning. Then, of course, I have my favorites page, so I popped my book in place there. And then I'm going to add my Goodreads challenge, which this year I was trying to shoot for 7. I was trying to shoot for 100 books, or I went ahead and made a space for 100 books. I don't think I'm going to make that many, but that is perfectly fine. So here I just erased my little numbers there, and then I'm adding on a little bit of color into 7 of these squares, which will represent the 7 books that I read in May. So now I did want to mention that I did not edit anything out of this video. It was like around 24 minutes, and I thought, you know what? We haven't got to chit chat for a little while, so I thought that I would just not edit anything out. So if you notice anything like weird, my head's in the frame, I'm taking a long time to do something, please just bear with me, and we're just going to chat and kind of have an easygoing, relaxing time here, chatting throughout this video. So here I had books that I bought. I didn't think that I bought any books throughout the month of May, so I didn't add any on here. And then, of course, I have my cozy book club, which was through my Patreon. And unfortunately, if you guys have been kind of following along with me, you'll know that I did actually stop my Patreon in the month of May, or I did not. That was the first month that I didn't do my Patreon at all. So with that, I did not have a Cozy Mystery Book Club book to pop into place. So what I'm doing here is I just use a different book as a template, and this is the kind of thing that I'm that I'm sorry about if it's annoying to watch, but I just decided, of course, I wanted to put something in place for this 5th month here. So I'm just going to draw my own book cover, and I'm going to pop in like no book club there in the middle so that I will remember, okay, we didn't have a book club meeting, but a group of us have continued the book club, which has been really nice. So I will be able to complete this spread throughout the rest of the year. So that works out perfectly for me. I just kind of drew my own little thing, and then we'll move on to the next. So of course I have my bookshelfie. Here I'm going to grab out my marker colors for the 5, the 4, and the 3-star reads. I will say that I printed the like printable of this shelf off on sticker paper, which I thought would just help me to adhere it down to the pages. If I could redo that, I would not print it off on sticker paper because I don't think that the mild liners work very nicely on it. They don't write very well on the sticker paper. They're a little bit of a darker, more saturated look, which is not my favorite. I mean, it's fine. I'm not worried about it, but if I did it over, that's just something that I would note. So I'm adding in my 5. my 4 and my 3-star read. So I did pretty good this month, and I actually had 3 5 stars with my May books, which was really exciting because I feel like it's been a minute since I've had a 5-star, and it's been a minute since I really enjoyed a book that I was reading. But I had a lot of fun with all of the books that I read this month, which is really exciting for me. So here I'm popping all of those titles in. A lot of times I'll just do an abbreviated title to fit them in place. But anyways, then we're going to move on to the main course here, the May spread. So as always, I have all of my stamps, my stamp pads, my mild liners. There's so many things that are involved in creating this spread here, but it is always fun and so satisfying to have the entire thing finished. So I decided to go with the blue color theme here for May. So I'm just going to start stamping and putting things into place. And as I'm doing that, I will kind of chit chat with you guys about the month and all that kind of stuff. So first off, if you do follow along with other videos besides just the reading journal, you might have noticed that I haven't been on a super great schedule of posting over here. I mean, I've always posted, there's always a Project Life video up, but there has also typically been a second video up for all of the weeks here, but I am currently trying to get on a better schedule so then I can post more videos, or at least always have the 2 videos up. So I'm definitely planning on having the reading journals up in the reading journal videos up in a more timely manner, because that helps me as well to stay on top of everything. So just wanted to note that just in case you've noticed that. I've just had a lot going on over the past maybe 3 months, and I'm hoping that things are going to be slowing down and that I'll have a little more time to devote over here to my YouTube. So you'll see that I'm starting to set up my page. So after I stamped on my title, I am taking some of those mild liners and I'm just creating a border, which I've really enjoyed doing that. I think that looks so good. And it's been something that I haven't normally done. I feel like it's a little bullet journal-y, and I just typically don't do something like that, but I've super enjoyed the way that it has looked, and it's been a consistent thing that I've really liked as I've flipped through. It gives it some extra color and gives you those parameters that I think looks really nice of where to keep all of your book covers and all that kind of good stuff, all the info. You'll also notice that I'm using that erasable pen. So this was just a pen that I picked up from Target. And I basically got it to use in my planner because I'm always having to change my plans and whatnot. And I have just a business only, not cute planner where I really keep up with everything. And that erasable pen has been a lifesaver during that. But also it's been so nice in my reading journal. And a lot of that is because I'm not a measurer. I'm not a perfectionist. So I just kind of go for it and just start to draw the lines, do whatever I'm doing, write the stuff. And a lot of times I do first and think later. So it's been really nice to have the option to erase because you'll see that I mess up constantly. So I've really enjoyed this pen a lot. So a lot of times I'm just flipping back for reference to make sure what it is that I'm supposed to be doing here. So I'm going to take my small wooden stamps from Michael's. Again, they're the same ones that I've used in my Hobonichi a lot of times. Sometimes I'll use them in Project Life. They're just really, really tiny stamps and I super love them. So I am going to add in my stats and then my total. And then also I end up stamping monthly favorite as I always do. So I'm going to kind of just start to get this page going. I did have 2 different mild liner markers. So along with this blue that I used around the perimeter here, I'm also going to be using a lighter blue mild liner as well for some of my little highlighted areas. So you'll see that here. So you can see this is a little bit of a lighter blue. So while I'm kind of putting this page together, I'll go ahead and tell you about my favorite book of the month. So like I mentioned before, I had 3 5-stars. So I had to kind of choose out of my 3 5-stars. So let's talk about all 3 of those right now. So my first one, and ultimately the one that I did choose as my favorite book of the month, is Yearbook by Seth Rogen. So I love Seth Rogen. He's a comedian and is in a lot of comedy movies. If you didn't know, I'm assuming most people will know. But I just love Seth Rogen in general, and I love a lot of his movies. And I've had his book on my shelf for a while. And honestly, the reason that I pulled it out this month was because I was trying to help myself and I was trying to read some shorter books. So I think that book it's either slightly under or just slightly over 250 pages, I think. So it's pretty short. And I actually wanted to grab the audiobook. Originally, I pulled it out thinking, oh, I could read this easily. It's a shorty. I'll do that. Then I was like, you know what? I want to check the audiobook because I bet he reads it. Sure enough, he did. So, of course, I went with the audiobook because I love audiobooks anyways. That's just my jam. I love to be able to multitask around the house and listen to a book while I'm doing other things. But also whenever the like author or especially like a celebrity or something has written a book about themselves, I love to be able to listen to their voices tell the book. And especially with it being like a humorous book, I thought that he would really be able to like bring all the jokes home and everything. So I definitely wanted to hear him read it. So I super enjoyed it. I thought that it was written so nicely because it wasn't just like a really linear story of like how he started in comedy and the different movies that he's like produced or starred in or written or whatever. It was kind of just like little snippets. It was almost like a slice of life kind of thing where it was just little snippets of his life, and sure, things tied in to different movies or to different inspirations or to different just crazy adventures and misadventures and things that had happened throughout his life. But it also told the story of how he met his wife and just different like really sweet or special moments. And I personally just really loved it. I thought it was funny. I also thought it was sweet, and I loved it a lot. So there was a few moments that made me laugh, and I was like telling Will, and I was thinking, oh, I should turn it on and just maybe let you listen to that chapter because it was that good. So it was right up my alley and something that I really enjoyed. So here you can see on my spread, I have done my stats, which I always do, like the total page count, the total audiobooks, total physical books, and like a general idea of some of the genres that I read. Then my total books that I read, which is always 7. You'll see that I do those starburst, and this time it is a little wonky because I did a big one on one side and a smaller one on the other side because it was uneven where I drew my circle to put the 7, but that's okay with me. Have my monthly favorite there. And then for this book, whichever book I pick as my monthly favorite, I always do like a bigger, fun, like border around it, whether it's like a more like, what do you call this? It's kind of a scalloped edge or whatever kind of border I choose. I always do that to like really have it stand out. And then I'm going to take my Sophie Alpha stamp, my favorite alpha stamp from Citrus Twist, and I'm going to stamp out yearbook. I'll add my star rating, which was 5 stars, and then I'll do a little blurb about the book and kind of what I felt about it and all that kind of stuff. So like I mentioned before, though, I did have 2 other 5-star books. So my 2 other ones, it's funny because they were 2 books that I had on Audible from months and months ago. And I'd actually started both of these books and not really gotten into them, and I did not finish them. Although whenever I did finally finish them this month, I really loved them. So the first one was Veronica Ruiz Breaks the Bank. Now, this was a little short story just about Vero from the Finley Donovan books. So if you have been following my book journey here, my reading journey, you'll know that I love the Finley Donovan books, especially the very, very first one. But I have read all of them. There's been 4 so far, and I have loved them. So this one, I think, takes place, I don't know, between either first and second, or I think more like second and third, but it doesn't truly matter. But it's about Finley's right-hand woman, Vero, and this is like a kind of prequel story about her before she met Finley and they started on their adventures. And It's only like 107 pages, so it's super short, but it was such a good little book. I absolutely loved it. Vero is one of the best characters in the book by far. She's so funny and she's really like gung ho. And this story I really, really enjoyed. So, again, it's kind of like that cozy mystery crime kind of thing, but it's really humorous as well. Like it's written always with like a very funny aspect to it. So I really enjoyed that one and was super glad that I finally listened to it. So now I have officially finished all of the books in the Finley series so far. Then the third and final 5-star of this month was The Dead Romantics. So that was another book, like I said before, that I had started like maybe last October or some time like that, because the book has like a ghost situation in it. So I started it then and I read quite a bit of it, but I just never fully got into it. I got the audiobook to see if that would help, and then I don't know that I ever turned on the audiobook. So I was thinking, instead of purchasing a new book, I was like, I really need to listen to a couple of these audiobooks that I have not yet listened to that I've already bought. So I was painting my kitchen. I have been doing all kinds of stuff around my house recently. So I just wanted something that would be like lighthearted and easy to put on that I could just kind of pay attention to while I was painting. And it was actually such a good book. So it's a romance, and that's not always my go-to. Actually, I think I've only read like 2 romances. I read Book Lovers by Emily Henry, which I gave a 5-star as well, and then The Dead Romantics, and I really loved both of them. So those are 2 writers that I totally do want to continue reading from. Romance is just not always my first like type of book that I want to read. But anyway, it was a really good story, and it has like a cool twist, like a ghostly twist, but it also has a lot of aspects of like grief and family, and just it was really sweet. So I would say it does have that kind of rom-com vibe with a twist, but also it has a little bit of like deeper storylines in there as well. And I just really, really liked it. So now the 7-Year Slip, I think that is on my radar, and I'm going to try to read that. And then I know that I think her name is Ashley Poston or something like that. The author, she has a new book called like a novel story or a novel love story or something that I also would like to read potentially. So, so I'm giving those a try, and I have been enjoying them. So those were my 5-star reads. And then you'll see that I've finished that kind of main page over there on the left side. We're moving on to the right. So this is where I'm going to document all of my other books that I read this month. So I did read a 4-star that I also super enjoyed. That book there, the first one, that was called Little Eyes. So it was basically like a Black Mirror-esque story about these they were almost like stuffed animals slash Furbies slash little robots called Kentuckys that people would buy. And you could either have one as like a little pet that would follow you around and watch you through their little eyes, or you could be in the body of the Kentucky. So you could be a person like on your computer, and you could be doing the watching. So either you could have something watch you, or you could be doing the watching. So there was a lot of like voyeuristic elements to it, and just all of like the very weird things, connections, different things that could go on. So it was a little weird. It was, I think, like a horror book technically. I mean, it wasn't really, really scary, but the idea could potentially become scary, and some of the things that happened could potentially become scary. But I really loved it. I love that type of story that's kind of futuristic-esque and Black Mirror-esque, that show. So I really loved that one a lot. Then I also had 3 3-stars. So I read Cursed Bunny, which was another kind of a similar type of book, I would say. It was like a horror book, but it was small stories. So it was just, I don't know how many were in there, maybe like 10 or so smaller stories. And Some I really did enjoy, and then a few I didn't love as much. So I ended up giving it 3 stars. I'm not even going to get into the wild stories that were in there, but really interesting. I love a book of short stories, especially with like horror type stuff, because I think that you can really tell a really good horror story in a shorter format. So, but unfortunately, it got a 3 star from me, although I did still enjoy it. And there's another book by the same author, Bora Chung, and that I want to read called Your Utopia, I think. And I own that book as well. And it's another short story book. So I might read that eventually as well. Then the last two were The Day Hikaru Died. I think that's the name of the manga series. And so I read number 2 and number 3. It's a really interesting manga as well about 2 boys that are friends, and one of them, something happens to him, and he is not who he seems. So he looks like Hikaru, but he is not, in fact, Hikaru. So it is like kind of a weird book as well. You know, I like all those weird ones. So they're really fun. I love a manga or graphic novel, and it's a great way for me to hit those 7 books every month. So here you can see that I've added all of my book covers down. Those were just printed on sticker paper as well. Of course, I have my little mild liner highlighted lines there, and I'm going to add whatever main genre the book is, also the total page numbers, and if I listen to it via audio or physical. Then of course I have the little stamp set from Ellie Studio that is so cute and really comes in handy, where I can add on the headphones or the actual physical book. So I always like to have that for a visual detail there of whichever way that I consumed the book there. So I'm just adding in the final details, and then I believe I will just give you a bit of a flip through of all of my pages, and it just feels so absolutely wonderful to have all of my books read for May. I know May was months ago, but you guys, like I said, it's been a struggle, and it feels so freaking good to have this page done. So hopefully I will have June out to you sooner than later. It is now July, so I definitely want to get fully caught up, so then we can just stay on track for the rest of the year and have my reading journal completed for 2024. So that is the goal. So here I'm just going to give you a bit of a flip through of some of the little bits that we put in here today. I hope that you enjoyed this process video. If you did, please give me a like and please consider subscribing. And of course, y'all know I'm going to be back with more content soon. Thank you for being patient, as I have been very busy these last couple months. But I hope that you guys have an absolutely wonderful day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye, y'all.